edition of the Trading Bell. This week on the program, we'll be discussing the lifting of curfew and what does this mean for the economy and what does the business community think about this. Will it be the antidote that the Kenya's economy requires to jumpstart? I'll be speaking to Mr. Jaswinda Bedi, who is the Vice Chairperson of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance and also the Chairman of Keproba, who also wears many hats in other jurisdictions. And before we get into that discussion, let's take a look at his profile.
Jaswinda Bedi, popularly known as Jas, graduated in textile in 1984 and has attended numerous executive business courses in Harvard Business School, IMD, and IIM. His business acumen has been recognized by Government of Kenya, whereby His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki decorated Jas with the medal Moran of the Burning Spear in 2012. Further, in 2016, Jas was nominated a finalist in the Africa CEO Forum Awards and subsequently awarded Sikh CEO of the Year. Thereafter, in 2017, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta decorated Jas with the medal Elder of the Burning Spear. Jas is currently the chairman of the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, board member of Industrial and Commercial Development Corporation, managing director of Bedi Investments Limited, vice chairman of Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and member of Young Presidents Organization. Jas has previously served as chairman of African Cotton and Textile Industries Federation, chairman of Export Promotion Council, managing director of Orbit's Chemical Industries, director of Export Processing Zones Authority, and board member of Federation of Kenyan Employers. Jas has been tirelessly involved in developing export market opportunities, particularly in trading blocs such as the EAC, COMESA, SADC, and European Union.
Thank you, Jas, for joining us, as you're popularly referred to.
Thank you.
Welcome on the Trading Bell.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Well, it's just about almost a week after President Uhuru Kenyatta addressed the country, where he did announce a raft of measures, including the lifting of the curfew. This means overnight travel is back to normal. We also have entertainment sports opening. And the big conversation is the manufacturers who had to close early because of curfew. What are the likely scenarios we are going to see? Is it going to impact in a big way, especially in reopening the economy fully?
Well, I guess you got to look at it in various contexts. Yeah, we've seen certain sectors that were really injured with a curfew, especially the hospitality sector, hotels, restaurants, bars. So those are definitely going to have a positive impact because of the late opening hours and because of the lifting of the curfew. Manufacturing also, we had to reorganize our factories to make sure that the workers leave on time, they can get back home. So the night shifts were prolonged because we had to shut down at 10 and the curfew periods at up to 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So if you had a midnight change of shift, you had to reorganize your entire shifting because if you're doing 3 shifts. Mm-hmm. So I think everything is slowly trickling back to normalcy, and it's the same across the world if you look at it. Mm-hmm. And sure, for Kenya, I think, and for Kenyan manufacturing fraternity, it's a boon. It's a plus.
All right. So what I'm getting from you, the good days lie ahead. Now that you're seeing vaccination is also being ramped up across the country. We have crossed over 5 million people have been vaccinated. But there are concerns that the economy might take some time to totally restabilize. And from where you sit as a business leader, what are some of the low-hanging fruits that you're going to see the economy experiencing a lot of activity in?
Well, you see, for me, during a pandemic year last year, obviously I, as the chair of the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, I really thought we were going to lose our revenue, export revenue, by at least 20%. That was my estimation. And obviously there were no flights that were leaving last year in March, April, May. Most of our export businesses, floriculture, horticulture, mm-hmm. and all that was injured for about 3 months. So when I looked at that export revenue collapse, I said, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're going to have a reduced export sales. And to my total surprise, Kenya's economy is very resilient. Kenyans are very resilient. and our export revenue went up by 7.8%. And I did the YY analysis. I said, what went right? What did we do different? That in a pandemic here, when everybody's export revenue is collapsing, ours recorded a growth. And what was it? And when we did that YY analysis, we realized it was one commodity that carried the day, and that one commodity was tea. And then we did a further YY analysis, that why was it tea and not anything else? We realized people are working from home, and when you work from home, what do? You drink more tea. So it was really a plus for us. And yes, during a pandemic year, to see a growth of export revenue 7.8% is commendable, and well done, Kenya.
Sure. And Jaswinda, looking at the state of events, of course, the president was very unanimous in terms of reaching out to the business community. We did see a stimulus package that he announced of 25 billion shillings. And this is all geared towards ensuring that the small businesses can be able to get cheaper credit. We did see a moratorium, especially on listing of persons who have loans below 5 million shillings. He did indicate that they should not be listed at the Credit Reference Bureau. We also saw a lot of interest around the sugar sector. We did see livestock and also drought mitigation. And also the president was very categorical, just talking about some of the economic measures that would really kickstart the economy. What are your views about the stimulus package? Was it sufficient? Can it be scaled up compared to the second stimulus package, which was over 41 billion shillings?
Well, I think if you look at it in an African context, and if you look at what other African countries did, I think very little was done on the continent of Africa. Kenya, during Stimulus 1, I would call it, which was last year, we reduced our VAT by 2%, we reduced our corporate tax obligations by 5%, we were given moratorium to our loans and our financial obligations. We've, of course, been the only country that we could not put a fiscal stimulus package on the table, but we in Africa probably the only ones who actually have put a monetary stimulus package, which really did help. Okay, it was short-lived up to December 31st, and everything was back to normal this year, and that maybe was a little premature. But yes, now with these new announcements of stimulus pack 2.0, it is really helping the bottom of the pyramid. It's helping that small businessman, the micro enterprise, the SME. It's target to specific sectors that are productive and really are that bottom of the pyramid. So I think it's a great thing. It's kidogo na njaa kikapu. And yes, the little we are doing is helping the economy. And yes, I think we're on the right track.
All right. And speaking about this stimulus package, the tourism players didn't get any major allocation. And of course, Kenya is renowned across the world for its tourism, for our sporting athletes, and we're also known for our products. Perhaps moving post the pandemic, what kind of imaging can Kenya tap into, especially now that you're seeing tourism is slowly getting back on its feet? Exports are also picking up now that you're seeing a lot of demand from different countries. How do we reposition the country in light of the pandemic that will help us stand out compared to our peers within the region?
Well, I think in the tourism sector, if you can see, we've had a correction that's happened in the last 18 months. And that correction was we started looking within. So for tourism, we've actually seen local tourism go up. And even last week, I was in Mombasa, I was shocked. Every hotel was full. And so there is that domestic demand that we've created. Besides the domestic demand, we're also creating a regional demand on the continent. And of course, as the rest of the world opens up, and with less stringent measures to travel to Kenya, we're actually seeing a lot of foreign tourists are also making their way here, especially the ones who are vaccinated and all that. So we are actually noticing there's a big influx. I don't know if we've got the infrastructure for the increased demand that we're seeing. And yes, for exports as well. As you know, we are in Dubai for 6 months. with the Dubai Expo 2020, and Kenya is showcasing what we're offering in the region and how we can expand our export basket. We're also looking at how we can partner with the Dubai government, because yes, all these people who are going to come into the Expo, 18 million of them in the next 6 months. I mean, for them it's a 4-hour flight away, and they can spend a couple of days in the Masai Mara and have a different experience, which obviously they can't have it in Dubai. So there are lots of good things that we're doing. And yes, we're branding Kenya correctly. We need to take that image back where it belongs. And you know what? Our crown jewels are our athletes, our runners. And you talked about sports. And we're actually even doing a run in Dubai, and it's going to be called a Run with the Champions. So we really need to pride ourselves that, yes, we are the champions when it comes to sports and athletes and running. And why can't we be the champions in the region for export growth and diversity?
All right. And towards this, how much are we putting in terms of spending? In just the campaigns that will help rebrand
well, I
product
think
Kenya?
We are looking at a very different value proposition. You know, there's one way of actually saying that we need government to help us and put money on the table for us to market Kenya. But we're trying to look at it differently now. This time around, we're looking at it. We have a huge opportunity at our doorstep, and which is a Continental Free Trade Agreement. And this Continental Free Trade Agreement is a $2.5 trillion economy. It's 1.2 billion people. How can we position Kenyan goods in the region? And how can we actually take a slice of pie? So to me, it's very simple. What is the current slice of pie we have? What is the slice we want to grow to? And as an agency, the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, we're thinking of opening Kenya House warehouses, which will be across the continent in strategic markets where we have currently low market penetration. So for example, the DRC, yeah, we have an export market, but it can grow and it can be bigger. So we're actually doing right now desktop research on saying, what are the supply chains that are supplying those individual markets on the continent? What can we do differently? I had a whole team in Mombasa last week just making up a plan and saying, guys, okay, this is what we can do in terms of import substitution, because they're already importing goods from other countries. How can we be competitive? How can we warehouse these goods in a Kenya house? I mean, talking to Kenya Association of Manufacturers, to KEPSA, and we will actually take, say, the master lease of that facility and then sublease it to our manufacturers. So without turning back to the exchequer, we need to be innovative enough to make sure our products make their way into these new markets on the continent.
Quite interesting that you bring this up, because if you look at current intra-Africa trade, it's still at a paltry less than 20%.
Yeah, it's 15% actually.
Exactly. And compare this with global trade, it's in the region of 45%. So what do we need to get there?
Well, I think the first thing is we need to change the paradigm. You see, Africa doesn't like trading with Africa. Intra-Africa trade, like you rightly said, is the lowest in the world. Intra-Europe trade is 65%, and Asia is 45%. Americas is 55%. So we're at 15%, which is very low. Surely that's a low-hanging fruit for the continent of Africa. We need to start looking at each other differently. We need to start working together. We need to start moving away from this competition. We're all competing with the same product, same markets, and we need to start working from competition to cooperation, from collaboration. If we can move from competition to cooperation and collaboration, we have a huge market opportunity within the continent of Africa. So I think that needle needs to move. And yes, currently global trade, Africa's trade on a global scale is 3%. It's shocking. 50 years ago, it was 5%. We need to move back to 5%. If we just move that trade up by 1%, you know, Africa doesn't need any aid. Move it up by another 1%, we can actually give aid to other countries. So it's going to change the dynamics totally. This is going to be the biggest opportunity of our lifetime, the Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's a massive opportunity and the biggest economic trading bloc in the world.